All right, let's dive into something that's, beautifully simple, but also incredibly powerful in UI design. We're talking about the B4XDaisyIndicator. If you've ever found yourself trying to add a little bit of extra info to your interface without making a total mess, well, you are going to love this.
So think about it. You've got a button, maybe a user avatar, or just an icon, and you need to signal something to the user, right? Is it a new message? Is someone online? How do you do that without just plastering text all over the screen and ruining your clean design? It's a classic problem for any developer.
And this is where the B4XDaisyIndicator comes in. The best way to think of it is like a tiny, smart sticker that you can slap onto any other element. It's designed from the ground up to be this subtle, really elegant way to add that extra layer of information. And as you're about to see, it is absolutely packed with features.
So let's start with the big idea here. How does a tiny little component like this actually make an interface better?
The real magic is in its simplicity. I mean, look, on the left, you've got your standard box. It's fine, it does the job. But on the right, just by adding that one little indicator, you've added a whole new dimension of information without messing with the layout at all. That's the key. It's an addition, not a distraction.
Okay, so how do we get this little guy to sit where we want and look how we want? Well, its flexibility really boils down to just a few core properties for positioning and styling. Let's break those down.
The most important thing to know is that you have total control. You can tell it exactly where to go. Horizontally, you can stick it at the start, center, or end. Vertically, you've got top, middle, or bottom. And if that's not enough, you can even use offsets to nudge it just a few pixels here or there to get it absolutely perfect.
And this visual just makes it crystal clear what that means in practice. When you combine those horizontal and vertical options, you get 9 primary spots to anchor it. Top left, bottom right, dead center, you name it. You can put that indicator exactly where it makes the most sense for your design.
But where it sits is only half the battle, right? The variant property is where you really start adding meaning. You're not just picking a random color, you're picking a purpose. And this taps right into stuff we all understand instinctively. Green means success, yellow is a warning, red is an error. It's a fantastic way to keep your UI consistent and intuitive.
And actually using it is incredibly easy. Seriously. You start with your main element, you attach the indicator to it, and then you just set the variant you want. So here, we set it to success, and boom, it automatically gets that nice green color, telling the user instantly that everything went well.
Okay, theory is great, but let's look at some real-world examples. This is where you can really start to see how powerful this little component can be.
So here's our starting point. We've got a clean, simple user avatar. Looks nice, but it's just a picture. It's not telling us anything else about this person. And bam! Just by adding that one indicator, we've instantly given it context. See? We've stuck it in the top right, used a secondary color, and even put the text justice inside it. Now, it's not just a face, it's a person who's part of a team or has a specific role. Such a small change, but a huge impact on usability.
Okay, now for what might be my favorite feature, the counter mode. This is where the indicator gets really smart. The logic is right there on the screen, and it's just perfect for notifications. You don't have to write a single line of code to handle this display logic. It's all built right in. And here's what that logic looks like in action. If the count is 0, the indicator just disappears. Simple. For anything from 1 up to 99, it'll show the actual number. But the moment you hit 100, it automatically switches over to 99 plus to keep the interface looking clean. It's just so elegant.
And here is the classic example you see everywhere, a notification bell icon. By attaching an indicator with counter mode on, we can clearly show the user, hey, you've got 5 new things to check out. It's intuitive, it's clean, and every single user knows exactly what it means.
So as we've seen, the B4XDaisyIndicator is way more than just a little colored dot. It's this super flexible, super smart tool that's pretty much essential for modern UI design. Let's just quickly recap what makes it so great.
The real strength here is just how versatile it is. You can attach it to absolutely anything. You have 9 different placement points for pixel-perfect positioning. You can add actual meaning with all the color variants. That automatic counter mode is a huge time saver. And of course, you can resize it to fit your design perfectly. And that really is the whole story here. The B4XDaisyIndicator is a small detail for sure, but it can have a massive impact on how clear and professional your UI feels. It's proof that sometimes the most powerful tools are the ones you barely notice. So that leaves us with one final question to think about. As you're working on your next project, what's the small, thoughtful detail, like an indicator, that you could add that would totally transform the experience for your users? Something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.